The Ugly Duckling, a tale of transformation and self-discovery. Once upon a time, in a peaceful little farmyard by a beautiful lake, there was a mother duck sitting on her nest, waiting for her eggs to hatch. She had been carefully tending to them for many days, keeping them warm and safe. One by one, the eggs began to crack open, and out popped the little ducklings, each cuter than the last. They waddled around, flapping their tiny wings and quacking with joy. But when the last egg finally cracked open, there was something different. Instead of a fluffy, yellow duckling, out came a large, awkward bird with grey feathers. It looked nothing like the other ducklings. The other ducks immediately began to tease the poor creature, calling it ugly and strange. They would snicker and whisper behind its back, "Look at that odd duckling. It doesn't belong here." The mother duck, though, was kind and gentle. She told her baby, "Don't worry, my dear. You are different, but you are special in your own way. Just wait, you'll see." But the little duckling couldn't understand. It felt out of place, unwanted, and different from everyone else. So, it decided to leave the farmyard and set off on its own journey. The journey of the ugly duckling. The little duckling waddled away, far from the farm and into the wilderness. Along the way, it met many animals. First, it came across a family of rabbits, hopping through the fields. The rabbits stared at the duckling and said, "You're too big and clumsy to be one of us. You should go somewhere else." The poor duckling continued on its journey, feeling even more sad and alone. It then came across a group of wild birds who were soaring high in the sky. "You're too slow and too awkward to fly with us," they told the little duckling. "You should leave." Next, the duckling came upon a pond full of graceful swans. They were all so beautiful, with long necks and elegant feathers. The little duckling felt ashamed of its appearance, so it didn't approach them. Instead, it stayed by the edge of the water, looking longingly at the swans as they glided across the pond. Winter approaches. As the seasons changed, the little duckling found itself struggling to survive in the cold winter months. It found shelter in a small, hidden corner of the pond, trying to stay warm. The other animals had long since gone, and the duckling was left alone in the bitter cold. One day, a kind farmer noticed the lonely duckling shivering by the pond. He took pity on the bird and brought it inside, where it could warm up. The farmer fed the duckling, and for the first time, the duckling began to feel a little better. However, it still felt out of place. It didn't know where it belonged. As spring came, the farmer decided to release the duckling back into the pond, where it had been born. The little duckling was hesitant at first, but then it remembered the beautiful swans it had seen the previous year. With a heavy heart, it waddled back to the pond, hoping it would finally find some peace. The transformation. As the little duckling swam across the pond, it saw the same swans it had admired before. To its surprise, the swans began to approach it. They didn't seem scared or disgusted. In fact, one of them swam up to the little duckling and said, "Come and join us. You're one of us now." The little duckling looked down at the water and was shocked by what it saw. Its reflection was no longer an awkward, grey bird. Instead, it had grown into a beautiful, graceful swan, with pure white feathers and a long, elegant neck. The little duckling had transformed into something magnificent. Overcome with joy, the once ugly duckling swam proudly with the other swans, feeling at home for the first time in its life. It had spent so much time thinking it was ugly and different, but now it understood that it had been growing into something beautiful all along. It was a swan, just like the others. The moral of the story. The once ugly duckling had learned a valuable lesson: true beauty comes from within, and sometimes, the things that make us different are the things that make us special. We all have our own journey, and though we may not always understand it, we can trust that everything will come together in time. What may seem like an awkward and difficult time can often lead to something wonderful. From that day forward, the swan lived happily in the pond, surrounded by friends who loved and accepted it for who it was. The moral of the story was clear: we all have our time to shine, and we should never judge ourselves too harshly based on the way we look or where we start. The end.